So how the overall research question, in a sense, the centre is being set up as a research inquiry into its own right, because we're not saying we know how to do this. That's the whole point. We're saying there's something wrong here. There's something wrong in terms of the number of children in need. There's something wrong in terms of the number of children still in poverty, despite all the billions spent on research. So clearly no one yet knows how to achieve this end. So as a centre, we're actually setting it up as an inquiry to say, how do we integrate research and practice across the disciplines between professions to enable a demonstrable improvement in the well-being of children and young people. And the core values, I mean, Jack will talk about values in a bit, and everybody who's worked with me so far will understand that our starting point is what are the values that are important to us, how do we want to make a difference in the world, what really matters to us, and the kind of values that are influencing the development of the centre is a grassroots commitment to social and environmental justice. I don't even think I need to say much more than that. I mean, it's a very kind of grand value base, if you like. But if you just, as part of me, one of the things that I often say is, I think somebody in the Chinese, the student union leader in the Chinese revolution or Tiananmen Square or something, said, as long as one person is not free, no one is really free. And I really, really respond to that. So there's something about me that says, it doesn't matter if 99% of children are okay, if there's 1% in some part of the world who are being abused or impoverished or whatever, we still have work to do, and it's how we progress towards that kind of end. So it's that kind of idea of social and environmental justice that's influencing the development of the centre. So we're motivated by a desire to improve the world, not just to explain it. And I say that because it's research, and I don't want to go into this in a lot of depth because this is in a theoretical context, but most research that goes on in universities is about taking something and observing it from afar and either trying to describe what's going on or explain what's going on, but not to change what's going on, not to improve what is actually happening. So you might get somebody observing behaviour of children in classrooms and trying to analyse what that behaviour means, etc. But it isn't necessarily about improving the practice within the classroom. And so the whole focus of the research within the Centre for the Child and Family, or a major emphasis of it, not completely, but a major emphasis, leads to an improvement in practice. You might have other forms of research that are reforming that process, but ultimately it is about an improvement in practice. And then it's recognising the principle of interconnectedness, and that just means, we want to work across disciplines, we want to work across professions, we don't any of us work as an island. It's very easy to do so. People very easily get compartmentalised into roles and responsibilities and disciplines and professions, but actually, as the main reports say, that isn't what we really want to happen. And even within the faculty of education here, there's tended to be a division between teacher education and between other forms of education, within other programmes in education. And we're, even in terms of what we're doing here, we're trying to do something about working more collaboratively across the boundaries and making the one more relevant to the other. And I think the sheer fact that we've got this seminar today is demonstrating that. And I'm really just going to show this. These are wordings from a national conference. One of the things that symbolises as a symptom of where we're at is that we get big national conferences. And we have national conferences that university, academics from universities attend. So there's a big one called BERA, the British Education Research Association, that is attended by academics all over the world, and they will come and they will present their research and what's going on in the world of research that's relevant to the education, schools, etc., etc. And you see very, very few professionals. I would think, anyone here ever think of going to BERA? Does it mean anything to any of you? It won't, because the only professionals is, but you're an academic, Jack, not counted. And Jack has encouraged professional people to go, but they are in a minority. And there is one, Marie, who's an ed side, and she goes and she says, I feel like a fish out of water. It's not my world, okay? And yet, really important stuff is there. And there's other conferences that you probably do see and are more aware of. And there was one national conference in London, which is integrated working across the children's workforce. And it's building on progress towards implementing effective joint work and putting the child at the heart of the services they receive. And as you move through it, you will see this idea on focusing, the kind of things that we're talking about here. Think family approaches. This is all excerpts taken from the literature about this major conference. Explore a model of integrated working that supports the 21st century school and its staff as a key partner for early intervention. And when you look at the people for whom this conference is intended, it is every single profession you can think of. When you look at the key speakers, they really do represent all the different kind of professions. The only group, it seems to me, that's missed out is academics. There's no one speaking from the university, and it's not suggested that anybody from the university should attend. It's a dimension that is just not there. And to me, I just think that's tragic, really. You've got these two major conferences, and what should happen is much more overspill of people from the professions attending the educational one and feeling that it's relevant for them, and people from universities attending the integrated working across the children's workforce. That should surely be relevant for people from universities, and that inbuilt into the programme, and that at the moment isn't happening. So this is just a bit, we've talked, people here are involved in an action research process with me, but not everyone may be aware of that. Action research is a methodology, many of you may be, but I just wanted, for those who are not, just what is action research about? And action research, and this is a quotation from Peter Reason, who's a very key person who's been at Bath University where Jack was, and it's an orientation to research that is aimed at improving people's lives by bringing scholarship and practice back together. Our immodest aim is to change the relationship between knowledge and practice. It is usually practiced by scholar practitioners who care deeply about making a positive change in the world. And it's this kind of scholar practitioners. And if I look at those of you who come from the action research project that we're doing in Liverpool, in the day nurseries, I think one of the challenges that you're all getting your head around is seeing yourself as researchers. And this is the work that I'm really trying to do, is say, what you are the people that are doing the work. We want you to see yourself as researchers and work with us to create the body of knowledge that is really relevant to working with children. So, we want you to be scholar practitioners. You're doing the research, and we want the work that you do to contribute to the research writing, to contribute to the knowledge that's put out there in the world and can inform professional practice. And I guess from a university point of view, part of what we see our role is enabling that dissemination to happen, to enable that to be translated into material that can be disseminated out there, and that we're working in a team in that kind of research. And then finally, I think I'm going to pass over to Jack here. If he wasn't here, I would go through Jack Whitehead's idea of living educational theory, but it seems a little bit imposition for me to go through this when he's actually sat here and can go through that himself. So if you want to pick up and just say something about what you do. Yeah.